So, you've got this amazing idea for a card game, right? But how do you actually turn that spark into something people can hold and play? That's the tough part. It's where so many great ideas just stall out. Well, today, we're diving into a handbook that is basically a map for that entire journey, from that first light bulb moment to a finished game.
And we're going to start with a quote that's really at the heart of this whole handbook, from the legendary designer Sid Meier. Game design is about creating a series of interesting choices for the player. This idea right here, it's our foundation. We're not just building something with rules, we're crafting an actual experience.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You've got the concept, maybe a cool theme rattling around in your head, but the path from that idea to a real deck of cards, man, it can feel so overwhelming. There are just so many moving parts, and it's easy to get paralyzed before you even start.
This is where the handbook really shines. It's not some rigid, boring textbook. Think of it more like a practical map. It's designed to guide you step by step, breaking down what feels like this huge, daunting project into small, manageable chunks.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at starting your journey and building the blueprint. Then we'll get into the good stuff, engineering a fun experience and, actually bringing your game to life. And finally, we'll see why this guide really is for every designer out there.
Every great game starts with a solid concept and a theme. Now, the handbook makes it super clear that your theme isn't just window dressing, it's the foundation of everything. A great theme, whether it's sci-fi, fantasy, whatever, it doesn't just look cool, it actually helps you make decisions about the rules and mechanics later on. It makes the whole experience feel connected.
Okay, so once you know the what, it's time for the how. A theme is great, but the mechanics, that's the engine that makes your game actually run. And what this handbook does is give you this incredible, comprehensive toolbox of game mechanics. Basically, the building blocks for almost any game you could possibly imagine.
And the book is fantastic at making these concepts super clear. Let's take deck building. It's a hugely popular system where you start with a kind of weak deck, and then you strategically buy or earn better cards to make it stronger as you play. If you've ever played a game where you're constantly making your deck more powerful, well, that's deck building. The book just makes it click. And it doesn't stop there. Right away, it introduces another core mechanic, drafting. You pick one card you want, and then you pass the rest of the hand to the next player. This creates this really fascinating tension where you're trying to get what you need, but you're also thinking about what you're handing off to your opponent. The book is just packed with these kinds of clear, functional breakdowns.
And this is just a little taste of what's in that toolbox. Beyond deck building and drafting, you've got stuff like hand management, set collection, area control, the list goes on and on. The point is, the handbook gives you this huge vocabulary of mechanics so you can find the perfect combination for your unique game idea.
Okay, so you've picked your theme, you've got your mechanics. But here's where the handbook goes a lot deeper. It's not just about building a game that works, it's about engineering an experience that is genuinely fun. And this section gets right into the psychology of what makes us, as players, tick.
To do that, it starts by helping you define what kind of fun you're even trying to create. For example, it breaks down the difference between Euro games, which are often all about strategy and managing resources with very little luck, and more traditional games, which might have more direct conflict and, dice rolls. Knowing where your game fits really helps you focus.
Then, the book really digs into the ingredients of fun itself. And it's not random, it's psychological. It talks about how we're motivated by a sense of accomplishment, that drive to get more stuff, and the tension of making a choice that really matters. You know that moment in a game where you have to decide, do I play it safe or do I risk it all for a huge payoff? That feeling is what this book teaches you how to create. It's all about understanding what makes us want to play again and again. All right, theory is great, but how do you actually make the thing? This next part is all about the practical, hands-on steps to turn your blueprint into a physical prototype that you can hold, shuffle, and, most importantly, play.
The handbook completely demystifies the whole process by breaking a single card down into its core parts. You've got the title for its identity, the artwork to pull you in, the stats that make the game work, and the text for the special rules. When you see it dissected like this, it makes designing your own cards feel way less intimidating, especially if you're a beginner. Next up, something that can absolutely make or break a game, the rule book. Come on, we've all struggled with a confusing one. The handbook gives you a super clear 4-step process for writing rules that actually work. Keep your language simple, organize it logically, use pictures, and, this is crucial, test it on people who have never, ever seen your game before. And this brings us to what is maybe the single most important part of this whole thing, something the book hammers home again and again, playtesting.
It's not something you do once at the end. It's a loop. You play the game, you get feedback on what's working and what's broken, you make changes, and then you do it all over again and again. This cycle is how a pretty good idea transforms into a truly great game.
So as we start to wrap this up, it's really important to talk about who this handbook is for. And honestly, it's for everyone. It's structured in a way that's incredibly valuable whether you're a first-time designer just scribbling ideas on index cards, or you're a seasoned pro looking for a fresh take on the fundamentals.
And just to show you its depth, it covers advanced concepts like the art of the trade-off. This is where you learn to design choices that force players to weigh, say, an immediate benefit against a long-term strategy. These are those really crunchy, nuanced decisions, those interesting choices Sid Meier was talking about that can make a game absolutely unforgettable.
And I think a quote from the book's foreword really sums it all up beautifully. It reminds us that, yeah, the goal is a finished game, but the real reward is in the process itself, those moments of inspiration, the challenge of solving a problem, and the pure joy of watching your creation come to life.
Look, the path from a cool idea to a finished game doesn't have to be a mystery. The tools, the psychology, the practical steps, it's all laid out in this handbook. It gives you the map for your journey. So the only question left is, what world will you create?